God put President Donald Trump as the President of the United States. That's what Rick Joyner of Morningstar Ministry prophesied about. And also he talked about prophetically about great growth is coming to America. Check it out. What does it really mean, speaking prophetically, about President-elect Donald Trump? Well, immediately at Morningstar Ministries, Rick Joyner of Morningstar Ministries is being interviewed by Dave Yarnes about what this really means. As a matter of fact, let's go there now.
We're so excited. It is the day after election. I've got with me Rick Joyner. We're here live, Morningstar Ministries. And Rick, I just wanted to get into it. Were you surprised? I mean, what was your thought watching the election results?
Well, I was confident. You know, even, you know, the faith to move mountains always has a little doubt in it.
Yeah.
That's what makes it faith.
Yeah.
You know, so, but the Lord had been so clear about it, and so many of my prophetic friends had all gotten the same word over the last week, that the Lord just said, look, I've got this, relax. And Ricky Skaggs had been texting me yesterday, and all the stuff he was getting, he's, God said, I've got this. He knows to relax, you know. And Ricky had a whole lot more about it. It's really we need to do a program on that sometime. But he, yeah, it was a God thing. It was a miracle. Even Trump said day before yesterday he needed a miracle. He understood that, but he got one. But it's important that he goes into office knowing it wasn't just him.
Right.
God put him there. He's got a purpose. And Trump does, you know, he's not a big respecter of persons, especially politicians. He has zero respect almost because he's dealt with them for so long.
Yeah. But
he has an incredible fear of the Lord. I've seen it. I just wish it was something we had more of in the church in a healthy way. And I think he's really got it. That God put him there. He didn't just put himself there. He's got to rely on God, depend on God. And just over the last month, he was compelled every day, and friends of mine that were praying with, they prayed with him every day, and one of the things he was praying for God to help him to humble himself.
Wow.
And because he knows God gives us grace to the humble. He's really been getting those revelations. So it was a God thing.
You know, Rick, one of the things you've been saying for a long time is the media has been so skewed, and the pollsters, you can't believe, you got to get your word from God. But I think everybody has been shocked by how wrong the pollsters are. I heard one commentator said the polls weren't worth the paper they were written on. That's something you've been talking about. So you care to comment on that?
Yeah. I mean, we do this every election. I mean, when Bush Sr., you know, the first Bush was running, and they had Dukakis ahead by 12 points, I think, with less than a week to go. Everybody just thought that thing's over. Bush won handily. And every election we go through this. You know, polls are used for media, generate media interest, get people watching and addicted to the news. You can make a poll, say anything you want to. And those WikiLeaks came out with how some of them were with pollsters on those emails, how much they had even changed the results of their polls to make them say what they wanted. They literally changed the numbers at the end. They are so skewed. And I think just the way the media is, Donald Trump's not anywhere close to the person the media projected him as being. It's a very different person. But a lot of people, they hear it over and over, and they believe it, and they buy into it. Well, we got to get delivered from all of these delusions.
And you know, just to speak to that, Rick, you know, so many people have been following you, following the election. I mean, there's an excitement, a euphoria. I heard a commentator this morning say, you know, World War II, 9/11, and the election of Trump are things that are going to stand out in people's minds. What would you have people do now? I mean, the people that were for Hillary and the people that were really for Trump. What's your thought now with America?
Well, one thing, the people for Trump, especially Christians, we can't relax just because our God.
Right.
He can't do what we're called to do. And our work just begins right now. Now, for the people who weren't with him, I would say this to the Trump supporters as well. an eagle needs a left wing and a right wing to fly. You know, and the right wing can't say to the left wing, I don't need you.
Right.
And one of the things that, you know, everybody's upset about the incredible division in our country now, the division in our country is a good thing. The tension and the pressure that's being illuminated around certain things are bringing them to the head so we can deal with them.
Yeah.
And we couldn't have this kind of division if we didn't have the freedom of expression. And people need to be free to express. What we do need to throw out is this political correctness so nobody can say what they think or what they really feel. We've got to get real with each other again, and then we've got to say it's okay for them to believe something or see something
Right.
very different from what I see, and I can even learn from them if I listen to them.
That is so wise, Rick.
You know, and so, yeah, we were created to be a country divided so that the issues could receive the challenge that they need and the debate they need for us to come to the conclusions and the answers to them.
Well, and just lastly, on a practical note, I know this is not a time to rest on our laurels, nor do we idolize things. You know, it is God behind it all. This is a footnote in the annals of history. Nations have come and nations have gone, but God reigns supreme. Practical things that you would say to people that they could be praying for, or staying in touch with their senators, congressmen. Practical thoughts, Rick?
Yeah, you know, I'd be shocked if if we didn't have a immediate recession. It's been held off for a long time. They're going to release what's been restraining some of the things. We're going to come out of it, I think, come out with more sustained and more substantial growth than we've ever had. But there are a lot of corrections. You're going to see corrections in the stock market because the stock market is so disconnected from the real economy of the country. What drives the stock market now is what is good for
Right.
investment, what is good for stocks, stock values, not necessarily growth of companies. There's been a real disconnect. They need to get reconnected, and while they're finding that ground, it's going to get kind of rough. Don't be discouraged. It happened when Reagan became president. Went through a serious 2-year depression. Then we came out of it, had growth and strength and everything like we'd not had in a long, long time. And I think we're going to see a similar thing. Don't be discouraged when these things hit. We will go through it. We will. These have come to pass. They will pass, you know. So.
Well, isn't that amazing when you're hearing a prophetic perspective of the election and what's taken place, that obviously God is the one that did this, that, you know, he says that every day President-elect Donald Trump, then campaigning for presidency, prayed every day with Christians, asking God to humble him. I see very few Christians who profess to be Christians asking that. Thank you for watching VFNtv. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Also, if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe. You know, a lot of people want to abide with the Lord, but they just don't have a plan to do it. You can request that plan today at iabide.org. Don't forget you can join us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download our app and sign up for our newsletter, The Torch, at VFNtv.com.